In Fairfield County, something new comes across my desk every day. Crimes are committed, cases are solved, and a community is made safe by the hardworking employees of the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office.
Welcome to This Week with Sheriff Dave Phalen, a weekly program here on LSN Television. We're also carried by a number of radio affiliates here in Lancaster. Do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners that join us every week. This program is actually produced at Fairfield Christian Academy. The students here, we do appreciate all the work they do behind the scenes. Our executive producer is Kelly Roberts, and she lines the guests up, does a lot of work with the questions. We've got a really good show. We've been doing this for about 2 or 3 years. It's kind of a year in review, and the guests today are our commanders of the areas within the Sheriff's Office. We have with us Alex Lape, Lieutenant Alex Lape with the Patrol Division. We have Marc Churchill with the Jail Division, and we have Sergeant Jared Collins that oversees the Detective Bureau. And so they actually oversee the majority of the Sheriff's Office. Of course, we have the Civil Division. We have some other divisions that aren't here today. But there's a lot to talk about. And what we try to do on this first show, we come and talk about kind of a year in review, reviewing what happened during 2016 and some of the highlights for the year. And then we'll come back next week and talk about some goals for the future, some things we hope to see next year. So let's just start with Lieutenant Lape and tell us a little bit about some things that happened last year.
Well, last year in the Patrol Division of the Sheriff's Office, we were pretty busy. It's probably our busiest year as far as responding to calls for service. The dispatch center keeps track of all that, and our 911 calls were up. Calls from landlines are down. We've responded to all kinds of different situations and incidents and handled those satisfactorily, I believe, and a lot of the stuff has then been turned over to the investigative unit. And unfortunately, in some cases, some of the people that were involved in the other incidents came to visit Lieutenant Churchill and his staff at the Jail Division. So it's an interesting thing when you start looking at how we process things through the system and how we all have to work together and to make things happen and to ensure that the residents of the county are getting the best law enforcement service that they can have.
And the Patrol Division actually operates out of a number of different locations throughout the county, right?
Yeah, we have our main offices at 342 West Wheeling Street. That's where the bulk of our operation is. And then we also have a substation in Pickerington. I believe it's 5 Columbus Street, right in the heart of Old Pickerington. And then we also have another substation in Canal Winchester as part of our contract services for the city of Canal Winchester. So, yeah, we have people kind of spread out, and hopefully here in the near future we'll be under the same roof, a little closer.
Lots going on. Lieutenant Churchill, what's going on in the jail this last year? I know you've been busy. Lots of exciting things coming up, especially next year, right?
Lots of exciting things. Next year is going to be a very explosive year. One of the things this year I think I need to compliment on is the communication that Lieutenant Lape just touched on. We've had great communication between the 3 major bureau heads and working together and making sure that we're all on the same page, and I really appreciate that, and I know they do also. So that was one of the things I saw a big increase this year was communication among the department heads.
Well, good.
This year, our Reentry Coalition did an outstanding job. They've helped a lot of inmates prepare for release, meeting with them prior to their release, making sure we can set appointments up for them for drug treatments or alcohol, addiction treatments.
And for the viewers and listeners that may not know, what is the Reentry Coalition?
It's a grant-funded organization that focuses on inmates who are pre-release, both male and female, entering back into our community that are from our community. So it doesn't necessarily, if they live in Columbus and they're going back to Columbus, they'll go to their reentry program. But we have one here in Fairfield County, and what it does is we set them up, so we don't set them up for failure upon release. We'll set them up with benefits through Job and Family Services. We'll help them with resume writing. We'll set them up with alcohol and drug treatment programs down at the Recovery Center. counseling services either at New Horizons or Mid-Ohio Psychological Services. So we give them a plan upon release. That way they can follow. And the goal is to reduce the recidivism, the number of times a person reoffends and comes back to jail. And they've just done an outstanding job.
Okay.
So some other areas that we've done really good is our jail ministries. Pastor Tom Underwood has done an outstanding job this year. He coordinates all the ministry services that come into the facility. He also comes into the facility and sees inmates at all 3 jails. Right now, I'm very excited. He's working on a new video.
In fact, I saw him yesterday in front of the jail, in front of the office there, shooting
Yes.
video.
Oh, it's exciting. His son puts together a very professional video, and what we do is then we'll play that video to all of the inmates in all 3 facilities, and it's got a good message, a hopeful message about how they can change their lives upon release. Again, it's all focused on reducing the recidivism within our community. We had a lot of transports to prisons this year, to and from prisons, approximately 375.
Wow.
We also transport released inmates to rehab centers all across the state of Ohio, and we did approximately 74 of those. I think the best thing that I'm very proud of is we've been able to keep our inmate population down to an average of, if I'm right, 226 inmates a month.
And to put that in perspective, if we go back to 2012, at one time it was over 300. I think we had a high of about 312, 315 in there. So
Right.
it has been a significant decrease.
Yeah, I think April of, that was a 320 year.
320,
320, and we were busting at the seams, which we're thankful for the new jail that's coming. But again, it's getting all these services to come together with the mindset of, again, focusing on the inmates that live in our community so they don't reoffend, to try and give them services upon release and reducing that recidivism rate. And I think we're making some good headway.
Good. Lots of good things going on in the jail. Sergeant Collins, and congratulations. This is your first year within as commander of the Detective Bureau. Lieutenant Tim Vorse retired, has become the superintendent, I guess the fair manager there. And so what has been going on in the Detective Bureau for 2016?
Well, I'll tell you, I can't say enough good about my staff there. The detectives that I have are just amazing. Probably one of the most professional groups that I've ever worked with. You know, that being said, the amount of work coming across our desk is crazy. We've assigned over 500 major criminal cases to these detectives this year. Just really, really busy. You know, several large-scale theft rings that we worked in conjunction with Columbus Police Department that they've gotten apprehensions and convictions on. Had an extremely dangerous sex offender out of Canton that our detectives apprehended in this county. You know, we've moved on to other things such as trying to modernize some of the ways we're doing things in our case management systems. We've really kind of stayed busy with that stuff, and you know, one of the more exciting things that we're kind of doing right now is we began a cooperative partnership with the Major Crimes Unit on investigating some of these overdose death complaints, investigations, things of that nature.
And of course, the big story is we had 2 homicides this year.
Unfortunately, yes, and that's the latter part of the year has really taken up a lot of our time doing the investigations on those.
Good. So lots of good things going on in the Detective Bureau. Well, let's circle back to you for a minute, Lieutenant. Lieutenant Lape, and so within the patrol division, are you seeing any trends or anything, or is it pretty consistent with years gone by? Are you seeing any different kind of calls for service or anything?
We're not seeing, I think across the board, things are pretty much the same as they've been in years past. We're not seeing any spikes in any one particular thing. Probably one of the bigger things that is more prevalent now and in the past few years than has been in, say, the past 5-10 years is the identity theft complaints that we receive. A lot of the theft, especially around the holiday seasons, we see a lot of the retail theft components, but the theft from private property, I think actually it's probably slowed down a lot. The numbers went down on that. Where we are seeing maybe an uptick is in the retail area where there's apprehensions made by loss prevention officers within these department stores that are in the county, and there might be a slight uptick in that. But across the board, I believe burglaries are down, and I have to give a lot of that credit to the deputies that go out every day and make sure that the county is a safe place to be. You know, their presence in a lot of these areas deters a lot of these crimes that commonly do occur. So I have to say, you know, that their efforts has made a difference.
Good, change topics. Got a couple minutes left, and quickly, Christmas. You know, we celebrate the birth of Christ. Wonderful time. Christmas memories. I'll start down there with you. Something that kind of a memory you have of Christmas before we end.
I think as a kid, just midnight mass every year, just
Okay.
As a family. That Grandma sang in the choir, so yeah, that kind of comes back every year.
Grandma in the choir. That's good. What about you?
Mine is a little more recent. My mother passed away approximately 6 years ago, and it was during one of the previous years she had some chemo treatment. And she gave myself, my brother, and my sister a pet rock. At the time, we thought it was the strangest gift my mom could have ever gave us, but to this day, it's probably one of the best gifts I've ever gotten from my mom.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You know, I think, especially holiday season, so it can be tough. I mean, my wife, Loretta, lost her mom just a couple of months ago. What about you?
Well, you know, when you brought that topic up, I started searching all the files that I had. I'm kind of struggling, so I'm going to go to the year that I got my Red Ryder BB gun. I think I was 12 years old. I spent a lot of time out in the fields and stuff with that, so that was a pretty good memory for me.
The BB gun, huh?
My Red Ryder, and I did not shoot my eye out.
That's helpful,
That's
because that's
right,
what Mom
that's right,
says.
that's right.
Don't, if you're going to get that, don't shoot
That's
your
right.
eye
You have to
out.
be careful with them, and I was pretty careful, or lucky, I don't know which.
Yeah, you know, when thinking back on my holiday remembrance, Christmas remembrance, is every year up until her death, from the time I was 1 and she passed away, I was in my 50s, was to go to my grandma's house. And she had a farm out in Pataskala, and we'd load the car up, and every Christmas Eve we'd spend it with Grandma. She had lived to be almost 100 years old.
Wow.
So that was a lot of Christmases with Grandma, so special memory. We're just
Yep.
about out of time. Again, Merry Christmas, and we'll be back next week where we're going to talk about next year. We're going to be talking about 2017, some things we're looking forward to. I know we're going to be talking about a new jail that will be opening in June. Lots of good things coming up next year. Again, I want to thank the students here at Fairfield Christian Academy that are behind the scenes, put this program together. They do a terrific job year in and year out. And again, let us not forget the reason for the season, the birth of Christ. And I am very appreciative of our viewers and listeners and the citizens of Fairfield County that have given me an opportunity to serve as your sheriff. God bless you, and we'll see you here next week.